at the top of my list, most are going to have Chuba Hubbard. We're going to talk about him next, number 2 on my list. So don't worry. He's still someone to highlight. But I have Emmanuel Sanders at the top because I think this guy is going to have meaningful value here on out rest of the season. Only 27% rostered right now. I think he's worth 20 to 25% of your fab. He's 9th in TDs right now, tied with a bunch of receivers there, but still 9th in TDs after a 2 TD week 3 here. 26 fantasy points, was the wide receiver 5 this past week. And yes, that's going to be a blow-up week. It's a spike. You can't expect that every single week, but he has seen 8, 7, and 6 targets. He's slippery in the red zone. He's 10th in the NFL in air yards right now. A meaningful field stretching role with the cannon arm of Josh Allen is significant, is very important. So I really like Emmanuel Sanders moving forward. I think he can be a dependable flex, even wide receiver 3 in your rosters, a guy that I would spend up the money for. But as the most often recommended number 1 waiver wire pick this week is going to be Chuba Hubbard, 26% rostered. To a much lesser extent, you could maybe look at Royce Freeman, 1%. You're going to have to bid 30-ish or so percent of your fab to get him. And if you lost McCaffrey and don't have much running back depth, you really don't have much other choice. You probably have to go do it because this guy is going to be a top 20 running back until McCaffrey returns. The rub here, though, and the reason why you don't want to blow too much of your fab unless you truly need him, is because McCaffrey's injury is less than a grade 1 hamstring. Didn't get placed on the IR. Great news for McCaffrey owners. Those are the ones probably scrambling for Chuba in the first place. That's the news you want to have. Probably only going to miss a game or 2. They're not putting him on the IR as of right now, which means they're expecting him back within 3 games. Otherwise, he just go to the IR, be an easy stint, and they take it careful with McCaffrey after we saw last year. So there's no real concern this will linger too long. But forever, as long as it does, Chuba's going to be the guy. He saw 73% of the snaps. Long down and distance, he was in for 100% of them, the clear third down guy. And then short down and distance, 66%. So he's got all the valuable role, the meaningful touches, 2-minute drill, all of those touches, 100%. 47% of their attempts, 72% routes per pass play, 22% target share. Great stuff. Volume's the king, and this guy is going to be a mid-range, and shout out Dwayne McFarland for those excellent stats over there from PFF. He's going to be a low-end RB1, high-end RB2, given the right matchups, and against Dallas, certainly a right matchup this week. So I do like this guy. He was 10th in preseason rushing yardage, had a nice 59-yard explosive run. Of course, he's no McCaffrey, but he did have 6 catches throughout the preseason. He can get it done in every facet. He's going to be kind of like Mike Davis, maybe even a little bit better than what Mike Davis was doing, and that was impressive stuff. So I really like Chuba. For the week or 2, you can stream him. And if you need a running back right now, well worth that 30% fab. If you don't, probably worth hanging out or saving that number 1 priority. And again, guys, any likes, tweets, reshares, all that good stuff is so appreciated. And of course, even more important, get those questions in. Only 4. We had like 50 questions last week on this show. So get your questions in. Let me know how I can help you on the waiver wire. I guess it is one of the less appetizing waiver wires, so maybe that's why there's less engagement, because there's no one you're all going out there to sprint and get. But still, I mean, these first couple names, definitely useful, as is Tim Patrick, number 3 on my week 4 waiver wire rankings, 23% rostered. He's number 4 on this list last week. So on a very barren waiver wire this week, you can see why he's jumped up to number 3. He's now at 13.9, 12.7, 14.8 PPR fantasy points across his games through 2021. That's not going to win you a week, but it's certainly not killing you. In fact, it's going to be a nice, steady wide receiver 3 production at a position that's been tricky to find it. I wouldn't consider Tyler Boyd a significant step above Tim Patrick at this point, given their roles. Even though he ranks 66th in targets, he's the 32nd wide receiver in fantasy. That gives him the 7th most fantasy points over expectation. The guy is eating right now on his limited work. We've seen him score a bunch of touchdowns last year. He crushes contested catch rate balls. And now KJ Hamler is going to be done for the year with a torn ACL. So this is not just when Jerry Jeudy gets back, he's trash, you have to cut him. He's going to be a clear-cut guy. He already was a clear-cut guy in 3 receiver sets, even with Jeudy there. Will continue to do so. The steadiest receiver so far for the Broncos. I have him ahead of Laviska Shenault moving forward, if that gives you any context for how I value Tim Patrick. Big fan. This one's gross. Let me just go throw up onto the floor. Peyton Barber, the 4th best waiver wire. That tells you all you need to know. But he actually looked pretty damn good. So shout out to my boy, The Truth, who has been a Peyton Barber truther from day 1. He had 111 rushing yards. What was impressive about that is 101 of those came after contact, just churning through tackles, bullying through defenders. Only Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Henry, and Madison saw more than Barber's 26 touches this last week. He is the workhorse. It's clear he's ahead of Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake is easily droppable at this point. No reason to own him moving forward. And Barber, yeah, Jacobs is going to be back soon, maybe as early as this week, and that will kind of crash his value down to earth. But should he be the guy this week? He's facing a bottom 5 Chargers run D. I think you could peg him for another 100 yards, potential touchdown, just like he had this past week. So at that point, at running back, if we're desperate, if you miss out on Chuba, this is a nice consolation prize, in my opinion. A nice rest of season potential starter is Sam Darnold, 22% rostered right now. He's been top 15 at QB every single week, including his best performance last week at QB6. I still only think it's 2 to 3% of the fab because quarterbacks just aren't that valuable, and you don't have to blow too much money to go and get him. But he right now is the quarterback 12, a low-end QB1 right now. And PPR fantasy points, he's had over 19 fantasy points in every single week. And then the schedule moving forward: Dallas, Philly, Minnesota, New York Giants, and Atlanta. None of those matchups are scary, and 3 of those matchups rank top 3. So we're going to continue to see this. Darnold does look reborn. He had more yards in these first 3 games than he did at any point of his Jets career over a 3-game span. It's clear this Joe Brady offense is good news for him, especially in the zone read. They're capitalizing on his sneaky athleticism in the red zone, 2 rushing touchdowns this last week. I really like Darnold moving forward. A very intriguing add at QB should you need those points. I have him above Tannehill if that helps you in terms of valuing him. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.